Caitlin, what does Trump's new plea mean for this case?
Well, Wolf, it's only one page. It's just a couple sentences of Donald Trump saying he doesn't want to show up at a hearing that's happening on Thursday. And at that hearing, that's when he will have to be arraigned. He will have to enter his pleading to this new indictment that the special counsel's office has brought through the court system against the former president. Now, Wolf, what's important about this is that it puts things back into trial mode, right? In the federal court, you put that not guilty pleading in, and then things progress toward a trial. There are all kinds of legal arguments that have to take place before a trial, before Judge Tanya Chutkan. On Thursday, she's going to be talking about the schedule and the plan moving forward. But what this piece of paper does, it means that Donald Trump doesn't have to show up in person. The first time he was indicted in federal court related to the 2020 election, he did go to court in person, raised his right hand, and told the judge he pleads not guilty to the 4 charges he was facing. He's facing those same 4 charges, a new version of the indictment, but he's saying, my lawyers are going to take care of this for me. Here's the paperwork with my signature on it. I plead not guilty.
So, Andrew, there's this hearing coming up next week. What do you think the timeline will look like, and how the election potentially could impact things?
I think, Wolf, the timeline of the review of this new indictment and the process that Judge Chutkan will set out and with the lawyers to kind of make sure that the evidence that's currently required to prove the case does not go within the scope of those matters that the Supreme Court has said can't be used against President Trump because of his presidential immunity, this newly recognized presidential immunity. There's been a lot of speculation as to what that process will look like and how long it'll take. We don't really have clear answers to those questions yet. I think it's unlikely that we'll see something like a mini trial or witnesses actually testifying, providing testimony in court. I think it's much more likely that the special counsel will try to do as much of this process and the back and forth arguments on the papers. So through motion filings, it's possible they'll have some oral arguments around those things as well. But this is Judge Chutkan, and what you're going to see from her is a very streamlined, focused, no-nonsense procedure that's designed to figure out what evidence can be used in this case as it goes forward and what evidence and potentially charges need to be left behind.
And we're just being told that this next hearing will actually be taking place this coming Thursday, so we'll watch that very closely. Caitlin, I know you're also following news in Trump's New York case. Give us the latest information.
Well, in that case, he is convicted and he's set to be sentenced on September 18th. But Donald Trump doesn't want that to happen. And so what he has done, especially now that the Supreme Court weighed in on presidential immunity, in this case, in New York, the hush money case, he went to a federal judge and said, the Constitution should prevent me from being sentenced. You should put things on hold. You should move this out of state court in New York into federal court. And the judge, the federal judge, Alvin Hellerstein up in New York, he said, no, not this time. You asked me once before. Nothing's changed, really. I'm not taking this case into federal court. This is a case with private schemes and private actors. The state judge is going to handle it. But Wolf, we are still waiting for things in this hush money case about Donald Trump and how he was making payments to Michael Cohen to reimburse Stormy Daniels. He is convicted by a jury there. The sentencing is set, but we're waiting to see if the judge moves that date until after the election.
Anxious to hear, Andrew, what you think. Do you expect that we will see Trump sentenced in just a few weeks?
I do, Wolf. I think we're going to see that. I think that's the rejection by the federal court to take this case essentially out of New York was entirely predictable. It's what they did the first time he asked them to consider that. I think Judge Merchan is very well aware of his responsibilities, having had this trial in his courtroom, seen the jury convict him. The next step in this process is a sentencing. I think there's no reason that this isn't going to go forward. Despite all these constitutional arguments that Trump and his lawyers have, they can raise those arguments later. But New York state courts have their own processes and procedures, and I expect to see Judge Merchan see those through.
Interesting. All right, Andrew McCabe, Caitlin Polantz, to both of you, thank you very much.